Hi all. As I have discussed yesterday, today we will discuss the architecture of GitOps tool. I hope you all have seen my previous video, the first video, which is the introduction video. If you have not seen, I just request you to see the video because before jumping into the architecture, you should have a small, you can say a guideline that what is GitOps and why there is a need of the GitOps in the market. So today I will explain the GitOps architecture, the tools which are used in the GitOps. There are many tools, but the main purpose of this is like that every tool has something common, right? They have some baseline which of all the tools have been there. So we have just doing to catch that things in this video. So that today I've used a Argo CD. But if you have a Flax, you have a Spinnaker or something else, Jenkins, then it's very easy for you because you have the basic how the architecture of the GitOps tool work. Hi, there are different tools which are used in the market, but I have just covered the tools which are popular right now in the market. So one is Argo CD. This is a main popular tool, and we are covering this thing today. Then there's a Flux. Then this is Jenkins X. Jenkins X is also a very popular tool, but there's mainly the discussions going on the Argo CD and Flux. So I will tell you in the end that which is better and in which scenario you should use it. Now there's a Spinnaker. I will tell you about the Spinnaker. Yeah, you can say the Spinnaker is a deployment tool, but I am not agreed that it's a popular GitOps tool. Yes, definitely it will work for our GitOps. But the problem is this, it is not purely like our Jenkins, Flax and Argo CD GitOps tool. So we can consider as a Spinnaker. It depends on the requirement of your company that which tool we will use here. So as I have just told you that the actual in a one line we can say that what is the actual role of the GitOps, right? Use the GitOps tool to get our things to be in the proper sync of the Git and Kubernetes. But what are the components? So they are the three components we can use: API web server, repo server, and my application controller. Actual all the GitOps tool, whether you will use Argo CD, you can use Flags, you can use Jenkins, you can use Spinnaker, whatever, or any other tool, the main components of any tools are these three. Now I will explain one by one in the later slides. So before starting the components, I hope you all are able to see that it is a Argo CD. You can consider it's a Argo CD, Spinnaker, Jenkins, or any GitOps tool. The basic criteria of that, it have to be a sync between the Git and your Kubernetes. Mm, let's go in a deep term about this. That whatever the source code which is in the Git right now, you can say there's a project A is in the Git, right? And it has to whatever the data is there, it has to be synced with the Kubernetes. How can we do that and how the things are like that? There are the different components which I will explain later. But let's, for example, like a user A has come and he has changed the value of the node.xml, right? But there is a one manifest file because as we all know that to get that it's easy. Okay, we can say the Git and Kubernetes both are in the sync, but how they are the sync? So we have a manifest file in the Git. You can say this GitOps tool, Argo CD or whatever the tool you are using, it will take this manifest file and place it in the Kubernetes, right? When it will place in this Kubernetes, it means they both have the same values. Example, there's a one user A has come and he has changed the value of this in node.xml, but this value is not in that Git, right? So it means they both are not in sync. So we can say these tools are very smart tools. They will flush off all the data which is not in the sync. they will see, okay, the last version which they both have on the sync, it will take that value. So in short, if we will say, the role of the main GitOps is to get the Git and Kubernetes is in the sync, and if it's not in sync, then flash out that value. First, I will tell you the scenario of my API web server. So what happened? Example, you have a Jenkins. I hope every company is using Jenkins and every person knows what the Jenkins is. It has two things, UI and CLI. Okay. So a user cannot come directly and talk with my Apple server and application server. So if they want to talk or to get the data, they have to connect with my API web server. This API web server is actually, you can say, a heart for the communication, right? Or to expose whatever it is my in the UI and CLI, right? And now the second major part is mainly the authentication part, like which we can say a SSO part. They are the components. I will explain in the last that how this component is used for this. And if example you want to sync, you want to roll back, then we can use this API web server. If you remember the previous thing which we have discussed, that we have to get in the sync of the Git and Kubernetes. So application controller is responsible to get my data from the Kubernetes and to watch that there is not any missing between the Git and my Kubernetes. So you can say it's a controller which will control and compare what is your actual state and your desired state. If your actual state means everything is in the sync and your desired state should be everything in the sync, then the things will be fine. And the next part is that it will communicate with my Apple server, right? Because as I told you that there is a Git, right? This Argo CD has to talk with the Git. How it will talk with my Git? By with this Apple server, it will take the manifest file from my Git and then it will go to my Kubernetes with the help of the application controller and communicate with it. So, if anything is not synced, that a preventive action it will be taken by my GitOps tool. So now I will talk about my component which is a Apo server. So as I had discussed that we have this my you can say a GitOps tool will have to make sync between my Git and my Kubernetes server. So Yahoo server is responsible to get the data with my Git and application controller is responsible to get the data from my Kubernetes to get the things in the sync. And then with the help you can say a API web server is used for my UI and for the cloning purposes. So because a user will not come directly there by UI and by CLI, it will interact with my API web service. So we can say these are the three different microservices, right? And the main part is that it is generate my K8 manifest to get whether the data is in the sync or not. So the last, which is the thing like if I am saying that we have to make in the API web service, this is for the authentication. That's for the SSO part, single sign, right? For that, it has already a DEX. DEX is a very lightweight and it is used with the external identity providers to get the things done and for the authentication, authorization part, you can say. Redis Yapo server has a Redis. Redis is used for the caching. Why we have to use for the caching? The problem is that example that my application goes down, and when my application goes down, whatever the data in the last state which has been cached, right? A user can show that part and that part can be synced so that everything cannot be flashed out. An application controller has an application set. It is actually used for automates your Argo CD applications. So, at the end of this video, I just want to say that it is just a glance, and it seems to be very easy that there are three components, and there is a you can say a sync between my GitOps tool is actually getting a sync between my Kubernetes and my Git, but the things are not as easy as we see. So tomorrow in the next video, I will help you to tell what are the interview questions which are needs to be asked, how the node working is there, and we will actually work on the Argo series so that if there is any practical scenarios come, you are able to crack that and it will help you in your, you can say, day-to-day learning. Thank you. Have a nice day.